Yo, what's going on YouTube? I'm Sue, and this is a joint tier list, because as you can see, I'm not alone here between myself and my good friend Drak, and we are going to talk about our thoughts on every character in Etheria Restart as of the ending of the final beta. Obviously, again, you know me because you're here on my YouTube channel, but you may not know a good friend of mine, Drak from Epic 7. So Drak, why don't you introduce yourself a bit, because you've been working overtime here when it comes to Etheria Restart, have you not?
Just a bit now. Hi, I'm Drak. You may know me over on Twitch as It's Drak, or coming soon to YouTube under the same name.
Yeah.
We haven't really put too many videos out yet, but we've been running it down Etheria, trying to get our best impressions going through.
Yeah.
I have at this point at the end of the beta here, we still have another, like, I would say about 8 hours worth of time to really spend in the game at this point. But in terms of the PvE leaderboard, I'm rank 3 on Anti-Sync, 8 in the Ethernet rally, and 7th on the Ember Trek right now in terms of progression.
Oh, you were slipping a little bit here, man. You were like top 3 on everything for a bit. But yeah, dude, Drak has basically been crushing it as far as like PvE goes. Like, for those of you guys who've been with me for E7 for a bit, you guys know my Abyss series, but like Drak was somebody I consulted for some of those videos to come up with the actual solution. So he's pretty good when it comes to PvE, right? So
some might say.
Yeah, so this list is, you're actually also pretty good at PvP as well. Like, you have a couple Emperor frames. You almost had a Legend frame at one point, right? As well? Like a top 100 frame?
Yeah, so there was the first 7 seasons of RTA, where I could have gotten a very easy Legend frame.
Yeah.
Just because my composition generally was untouched. But that's E7. We're talking.
We're talking Etheria. Just get the credentials out of it. Anyways, this is going to probably be a long video. I'll have timestamps down below if you want to just figure out how your favorite character fares. So feel free to use that. So here is basically our grading guide here for our tiers. We have the S tier, which is the must build characters. Like, if you have them, there's not really a good reason to not build them. The A tier is characters that are pretty strong early on and they hold value even late in the game. B tier are not necessarily bad characters, but they're characters that are very niche or don't feel very strong early on, but once you get to the late game, they might feel super, super powerful, like some of the best characters in the game. And then you have the C tier here, might need buffs or are incredibly niche. Like, these are the characters that aren't really good. They might have like 1 usage, or, you know, they have some kind of very powerful team comp. We might talk about some of those later on. F tier is garbage, pretty much self-explanatory. Just don't level them. They're like the worst characters in the game. And then the last 2 here, we'll get those out of the way first. We'll do the can't choose tier here, which is, grab the wrong character here. Where are you? It's in alphabetical order. Yeah, Hoyan here. So Hoyan was not available during this beta, despite being available in other betas. She's probably going to be in some kind of banner at some point post-launch. I don't know if they're reworking her or what they're doing. But what better place to start this off than with Lian, who is the main character of Etheria Restart, the one that everybody gets, the SSR character everybody gets. So
our first summon.
Yeah, so aside from looking like Revolutionary Girl Utena, I think Lian is like pretty powerful as far as a character is concerned in this game. So she has good AoE, just good damage overall. The turn meter pushback is very good on her skill 3, built-in sustain. Just overall, everything you could honestly ask for in a starting damage dealer in a gacha game, right?
I completely agree with this. Her CR pushback, or steal in this case, is very, very impactful on her skill 3. And since you are already kind of forced to progress and use her and level her up as a DPS while going through the actual quest lines for the achievements and other things for the game, she's one of your easiestly usable, like, SSR damage dealers for the start of the game.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to like give her a letter grade, I think I'd probably give her like an A or like an A+. Like, I don't think she's quite S, right? Because like when you get to the later game, like rank 40+, she's not like the first thing you reach for. But she's pretty good until you get to that point. Like, I don't really see a reason not to use her, especially because, like you said, the game is forcing you to use her. So like I said, if I had to give her like a grade, I probably would give her an A. I just don't want to put her in necessarily an A tier because everybody's like C starter character, right? We got to talk about it. We got to give it its own distinction, All right, but yeah, you can safely assume that Lian is in the A tier. All right,
And
so
she's being used for Termaton, if I remember correctly, the Inferno difficulty right now.
Yeah, that was my free-to-play Inferno team that I'm working on putting. A guy uses her as well, so yeah, it's hard to say that she's worse than A. All right, so let's start it off proper with the S tier, and I'll let you take the floor on this one. So this is our first character. I think this is probably the best character in the game, and that's Lily.
Yes, the apex of apexes, the best unit in the game, Lily. She is basically the best support that we have in the game, both introducing the actual CR boost up, the actual speed buff for your whole team, and is the only character that I can tell off the top of my head that actually has the assist mechanic.
Yeah.
So she actually has the guaranteed dual attack that actually follows up from your team, which is very, very strong. And not even that, she also has a skill. Her skill 3 also is a skill reset and push back from your opponent.
Yeah, it pushes back their cooldowns. Yeah,
push back their cooldowns. It pushes and resets your partner effectively unit all their cooldowns.
Yeah,
so she goes very crazy in PvE, and then is also, since she's the second fastest speed, she can be used as an opener also for your actual PvP.
Yeah, the character just does everything. 30% turn meter, guaranteed follow-up attacks on the basic attack skill, resets enemy cooldowns so they can't do anything. Is basically only ever going to get speed contested by Kloss, as far as I can tell, at like the high-end PvP. Like, they're just, what doesn't she do? Like, if you could reroll for one character that's probably going to be future-proof, it's her, right? Like, I don't know if I'm going to reroll for the actual like release version of the game, but if I do, it will be to grab Lily. I think she's like hands down the best character in the entire game.
Oh, without a hands.
Yeah.
The only one that's comparable would be another man that we might mention a little later.
yeah. We're gonna do these like in what we think are relatively strength order by like rarity. So we'll do like the SSRs and what we think are strength rarity or like strength rating, and then we'll go on to the SR. So like spoiler alert, Marvell's going to be in this tier. He's probably the second best character in the game, but we wanted to do all the SSRs first, then the SRs, to kind of keep it like uniform by rarity. All right, so let's move on to our next SSR, who I believe is down here, and that is Mommy Tiamat. So Tiamat, pretty much the tank / bruiser of the game, does everything you could really want. Heals your team, AoE provoke, built-in damage, sharing, good damage with her true damage, built-in lifesteal. Like, I see people saying that she's starting to fall off towards the end of this beta, but like, character's just an incredible safety net. Character's good in PvP. Character can still be used even if you think there are better options in PvE. It's hard to say that she's not a must build if you have her, right?
Honestly, like, I just recently actually started building her because I was missing her at the start of the beta, and I picked her up 3 days before the end here. And I just now, like, 6-starred her, leveled her up, put her on some gear. She's been crushing it. Like,
yeah,
I don't know what I was doing without this unit so far. Like,
yeah, I didn't get mine until...
made a lot of things, like, so much easier with her actual, like, damage share effect. Not even just the healing. But I think she, instead of, like, losing ground late game, I think she actually picks up a lot of ground, especially with the new shells that come out once you hit, like, level 45, level 50. Yeah, once you get like Fortissimo, she just becomes an actual healer for your team.
Yeah,
like, an actual healer.
Something to keep in mind. Yeah, not having this character, I had her. She was my selective summon in the first beta, and I didn't realize how good I had it with her until I played through this beta, where I chose not to take her because I wanted to try out other characters. And I struggled so hard until like I pulled one at like rank 35. Once I pulled one at 35, then like it got a lot smoother into the 40s. But until then, man, like there is a noticeable difference at all points of the game having this character versus not having this character.
Yeah.
All right, she was nerfed also, by the way. Yeah, she was nerfed, by the way. Like she used to be stronger in the old beta. She got nerfed, and she's still that good. Speaking of nerf characters, Helkid is the next one.
You mean the other tank that is just as comparable to Tiamat?
Yeah. So Tiamat, or not Tiamat, Helkid does a lot of stuff. Sustain for your team, Debuff immunity, which is super good for not only PvP to stuff certain team compositions, but PvE, surprisingly, most bosses just are littered with debuffs in this game. On-demand stun, especially for things that need like control effects to deal with. Just a good character. There's not much else for me to say here.
This man, he kind of runs a daycare or a church, and then he just takes care of everybody else beside him. That's his purpose.
Yeah.
Like,
what doesn't he do?
Huge barrier. He attack downs. He has a stun that's a 100% chance.
Yeah.
As long as he has his barrier. His cooldowns are actually fine. He does a lot of damage. He's like the best all-arounder for keeping your team up and doing damage. Like outside of like the survivability factor and healing from Tiamat, like his barriers and CC the crowd control immunities make him a very versatile threat.
I mean, like outside of like Doki, where obviously like red characters are bad, like
I've taken him everywhere.
He goes everywhere else, right? Like every other game mode, no matter what, right?
I've used him with a lot of my Abyss Trek floors, a lot of my anti-sync floors, like just because of that shield with the immunity effect on it.
Mm-hmm.
It just solves so many issues. You no longer get dotted, you no longer get unhealable or unbuffable or anything like that. You can't get the pushback, you can't be frozen. Like that shield is what makes this dude so good.
Yeah, it's like whole kit. It's just a very, very complete kit. Like you've probably heard me say that for other games for impression stuff. Like having a complete kit where everything all just works. That's this character. He just works. He works everywhere, pretty much.
He's kind of like the FCC of
this game.
This game, like on release. Like she's perfect. Like we don't need to touch her.
Yeah.
Until 7 years from now.
All right, so the next one in the S tier is Lingluo. This one's pretty short and sweet. Cleansing, good healing, and then the very rare ability to extend buffs, which is very like powerful. Unless like you're against Terramatan, where like blue characters are garbage, right?
Oh, there's a strategy for that, but we can mention that later.
We can mention that. We can mention that. Like, this is just another one of those characters where she just goes everywhere. She's the best healer in the game, pretty much. Like, there's one other hero we'll mention, but like, it's pretty much these are the two healers for Etheria Restart, at least at launch.
Yep.
All right, so the last SSR in here, and I know it's going to get, when we put this one up here, like, the fact that by omission, there's not going to be certain other SSRs, people are going to get mad, and I could kind of already feel it. Is our boy here. Yeah, is Heinrich is the last SSR I would put here. And the reason why I think Heinrich goes in S is just he's ubiquitous, right? He goes everywhere, he does everything. Yeah, he's not like the best damage dealer, but he's one of the few ways to get rid of buffs on the enemy team. He has good AoE damage, good single target damage. Buff block is very good. Wound is a very desired thing, especially for a couple of shell fights, right? The character is just good everywhere, right? It's like Lingluo, where if you have him, you should just play him, because there's not a spot where he's ever bad.
Yeah, he damage amps for your team, makes your gearing a little bit easier by giving you crit chance and crit damage. As you said, the unbuffable, the wound, and the actual AoE damage that he actually puts out is actually decent. He has a decent speed as well, making him not one of the fastest units, but definitely up on the upper tier of fast units.
Yeah.
So he's a very good all-arounder.
Yeah, he also
about everything.
Yeah, his other passive, the last words, also just amps your team's damage, right? Like,
yes,
there's just no drawback to playing him. Like,
it's a 28% crit damage and 28% crit chance to your team, as long as it's at max stats. Yeah,
character is very good. This is another one where I think that if you wanted to re-roll for it, I wouldn't fault you for it. All right, so let's go for the SRs here, and the first one is probably the character I expect to get nerfed after this beta. He's probably the second best character in the game behind Lily, and that's Marvell.
Yes.
He's just kind of insane. Like the speed down
point.
Yeah.
In the beta, he is in every single team. Everywhere you go, everywhere you look, you'll just see him.
Yeah,
he's around the corner. He's looking at you right now.
He's literally the Spider-Man meme. Everywhere I go, I see his face. Yeah, he's just your standard control character from any of these turn-based games. Like, he has the turn meter pushback, he has the slow, and his moves have like other forms of pushback and like soft CC, like silence in them. obviously, if you use Bulwark as a set, right, it'll give you immunity, debuff immunity for 1 turn. If you play anybody like Lingluo that can cleanse or get that immunity up like throughout the fight, like reestablish it, he's not that big of a deal. But in the early days of Etheria, at least for PvP, people don't have that, so he's just gonna run over you in PvP. And then he just gives you can build whole teams with like other characters we'll talk about later, like Freya, Kraken, right? Like you can just build these teams where the AI just doesn't get a turn, and you can just, if you have garbage gear, no good units, he plus another control unit just allows infinite turns, and it'll allow you to kind of clear things that you shouldn't be able to otherwise. I know because I didn't have a damage dealer for the longest time, so he is pretty much my my cheat code to winning.
He is in fact the cheat code.
Yeah.
Oh boy, this guy is so strong.
All right, so let's move on to the next SSR, and this is one I'll let you take this one, so you can talk about this one, Drak. It's Kraken, or Crackalakin, as you've been calling him.
Well, no, it's more so that I've been Crackalakin. I happen to be like 1,300 summons in at this point with no Kraken. So I am obviously the master of knowing what Kraken does.
So yeah, Drak.
We have the wonderful full team AoE freeze. As well, he has a defense break on his skill 1. He has the pushback, and if they knock back to 0, they're automatically frozen without ignoring the resistances. This man does everything. Yeah,
and then his skill 2 is also a 1-turn stun that can be upgraded to a 2-turn stun if they go under 50% health. So, if you pull Kraken at launch, there is literally 0 reason to not build him. He is... Like, I have played in the previous beta and then early access. I've always felt that Kraken and Obol are, like, roughly comparable. This is the first time I really went hard on Kraken versus Obol. It's not...
You saw the difference.
Yeah, it's night and day, bro. Like, Kraken is, like... He is a staple character. At launch, like, unless he gets nerfed between the final beta and launch, there is literally 0 reason to not build the character. He's the same. He's like.
I don't see a need to actually nerf him though, because his
I think
for like landing everything are actually kind of fine.
Yeah, I actually think he is very fair. But like, this is the character where at launch, if you ask me, gun to my head, which character do you level? Which character do you skill up all their stuff? Like go all the way through the prowess, lattice, everything. This is the character.
Yeah.
All right. Like he is super
And that's
good.
the thing about like Marvell and Kraken. Like they kind of just start stomping people as long as their account level is under 30. Because that's when you unlock Aurora, and then you can actually kind of get immunity gear for the first time.
All right, so the last character in the must-build tier is Sania, and she's basically how I've always felt she is. She's like, you know, mini-made Chloe from Epic 7, so it's just character passively heals, passively cleanses stuff, has the ability to revive.
And also boosts max HP.
Yeah, boosts max HP so you can tank stuff you normally wouldn't be able to. I just don't think that there's a spot where you don't play the character, right? The character is just very good, especially in the first week of the game where you don't have Lingluo, you haven't gotten your day 7. I have previously felt like I always play this character in every playthrough that I've done. And then this was the one where I was like, you know what? I was like, you know what? I'm going to level Dorothy this time because I see other consecrators, they're leveling Dorothy. Dorothy might not be that bad. There is like an ocean of power level, I feel like, between this character and Dorothy. Like, they are not even comparable. If you pull, this is another one. Go on.
You get the ability to heal every single turn.
And cleanse. And cleanse. Every turn.
And cleanse. Just that alone is probably our strongest thing. Because it's like using your actual healing skill, but it's a passive. But it's like using an actual skill every single turn, compared to just like a normal skill 1.
Yeah.
Like, and then her skill 1 is also just a 30% CR push for herself up the turn meter.
Yep. Yeah, there's nothing bad about her. Yeah, she honestly is an SSR in disguise. Like, these 3 are the best SSRs, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right, so let's
honestly, sometimes in certain content, she's kind of better than Ling. But that's only like if you really need like the actual survivability compared to like the immunity or buff extension.
Yeah. All right, so let's move into our first character here in the A tier. Remember, this is like the characters that are good early as well as late game. They might not be as like busted as the S tier characters, but you're still gonna want them. And that is gonna be Freya here, who's our first banner character. I've had like a love-hate relationship with this character. I was pretty down on her. I thought she was fine. Drak has kind of convinced me that this character is like way better than I gave her credit. So I'll let you kind of feel why you feel that way.
Okay. So a lot of people say comparing her like to Chiaki the Echo, which we'll bring onto the list some other time here. But she provides way more sustain and manipulation in an overall fight than Chiaki will ever do. Like, obviously, if you're playing PvP, you want to take that first turn and everything, then Chiaki will obviously be better at that because she has the initial attack buff plus CR push. But in any other fight in PvE, that you're handling that's not going to be like in that cleave-centric statement.
Yeah.
The attack buff, the nightmare, the healing from that, the damage boost from that, the actual defense buff, the Dreamweaver for cleansing debuffs, and the ability to actually run these other shells that actually let her do even more healing, like I believe it was the Fortissimo as well as the what was it, Supernova or the Squid.
Yeah.
That actually let her proc her actual healing for like heal over time effects.
Yeah.
She's actually a very, very like sustainable healer once you actually start using her.
Yeah,
with low investment.
Yeah, the healing on the shells was something I didn't consider. Like the fact that she could proc healing shells is like very powerful. But like the passive is so strong, right? With like Marvell.
Extremely.
Yeah, with
push
like Marvell.
Push back. It's been helping clear so many different floors in Ember Trek and Anti-Sync.
Yeah.
Like that CR push and push back, tied with other characters that you may have been mentioning before, like Lily, Marvell, Kraken, etc., with pushbacks and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it just is so good.
Yeah, like basically Freya as my sustain with like Marvell and then Kraken and then like Rosa, for example, right? Like those that as like a shell just makes it so that what I'm fighting just doesn't get a turn. Right? And it's just so powerful. And she gives you like that little bit of extra juice. Like maybe like Marvell plus another control character doesn't get you quite that infinite turn we're talking about, but Freya plus Marvell does that, right? So not every comp is Freya gonna feel ridiculously broken, but there are a lot of comps where you're like, damn, this character does like everything I want. I mean, and that's kind of indicative, like the kit kind of suggests that. It just took me a lot longer to arrive at that point. I was like, this character feels like it should do everything, but it wasn't. And it wasn't until I started to realize like the shell synergies, you know, and then the synergies with characters like Marvell that I feel like we really got there.
Yeah, she's like the best enabler or second best enabler, if you count Lily as an enabler more so.
Yeah. All right, so we'll move on to the next one. And this is one that a lot of people have told me that they are going to be using as their starter for actual launch. So that is Rilmocha, or as I call her, Shu Says, because she looks like Shu from Epic 7 and has the same kit as Says.
Shu Says what? So, yeah, people have been basically stopping the whole I'm picking Tiamat and have been transitioning over to the Rilmocha start is what I've been seeing a lot recently. And I've only started recently using her again. Once again, like I said, I've started, you know, actually grabbing these units more so around like the end of this beta now. So I've been using her mostly at 45. I just 6-starred her today and started using her, and she's pumped out damage. She's actually been pretty good in like Doki, but I haven't really used her anywhere else besides that.
Yeah, I feel like this is the same thing. Like we come from an Epic 7 background where the community has this like really super inflated sense of speed as a stat. And don't get me wrong, speed is the best stat in the game, but it's not everything. So everybody is tunneling very hard on Doki. So I feel like that's why people are saying Rilmocha is like so good. And I'm not saying she's not good other places, but there are other characters you can use in other game modes, right? Like I feel like shells, myself included, criminally under like farmed, right? Like I did not farm shells anywhere near as much as I should have, and I feel like talking to other players, they haven't as well, right? I feel like the people who are really at the forefront of like clearing content, pushing to just the end game, developing their boxes, are pushing shells and other content, and I'm not so sure that Rilmocha is like always the best option there, which is why like she ranks very high here in A. Like she's borderline S, but I don't think she's like, if you ask me, would you rather have Lily or Rilmocha? I'm going to take the Lily. If you ask me, would you rather have the Helkid or the Rilmocha? I'm going to take the Helkid, right? And like, that's just our opinion, but like, she's definitely one of the strongest A characters, I feel like, in the whole game. So people, I think you are justified if you want to start with this character. But I just don't think she's like the overall best one, like the definitively best one.
I agree with that completely.
Yeah, so we'll move on now to Kloss. This is a character that I haven't really gotten to pull in any of my experiences in any of the game modes, so this is going to be largely on Drak here, but I just think a character that's the fastest character in a turn-based gacha, especially a PvP turn-based gacha, can never truly be bad, and she is primarily built around reducing stats and defense breaking enemies, which defense break is another thing that never is bad in these games, so on paper, I just don't see how this character can ever truly be bad.
So basically what I see Kloss as is basically she's our premium defense breaker in this game. She is our damage amp that effectively does the same thing as Dinah, but at a easier cost, but not as fast, because Dinah can run it like defense break and then can get the vulnerability, but it's, you have 4 chances of that happening at like 50%. Whereas we have a 100% AoE defense break going on with Kloss. That'll immediately be 20% extra damage going on there.
Yeah.
And then when you like max the stacks to the 3 stacks, you have a 25% damage increase. But not only that, it's a 40% damage reduction and 20% speed down. That stacks outside of the other effects of speed down.
Yeah. We're actually experiencing this a little bit right now in the E7 metagame with Renak, where she has Pilfer, which is basically reducing, you know, all of your opponent's stats. And then also she's just like completely shredding up the defenses on the fastest body in the game. That's why I drew the parallel that I did, because it's just, I don't see how somebody with that kit, it's traditionally always strong.
Yeah. Right now she is being used for a lot of clears and upper level PvE at least. Just because that damage reduction of 40% is so strong. And then she also does have the redistribution of the actual turn meter, which is a push up to yourself and a push back to the enemy, which is also very strong and helps apply in these actual CR manipulation comps that are being used at least in the top level end game content right now.
Yeah.
Because without that, just because of the actual gear level changes and difference, plus the actual level of the enemies compared to our own characters, it wouldn't really be possible.
Yeah. You basically, she's like at the forefront of helping you push or cheese things way earlier than you should be, just like with your Krakens, your Marvells, right?
Exactly.
All right, so the next one is, well, for the SSRs, is this is the one I expected people probably thought we would put in the S tier, and that is Doki. So I'll let you field this one.
Doki is a very good support unit. She does actually give speed to your team. She helps cleanse off debuffs, and she does actually, you know, push up your CR as well, and can reset your own skills. The problem with her is that for your average play in the game, it's going to be very difficult to actually utilize her, because unless you actually properly tune your teams to actually function correctly for her, everything's going to feel like it's just random using her. And it can also at that point just throw off a bunch of your other effects, like your shells or your other buffs that are happening at the time, just by resetting your characters. If you don't set these things up correctly, like you could have your Freya's attack buff be going on one turn, but because you reset your other skills to, like, let's say you reset that skill with Doki effectively. Your other skills on the other characters might not be up, so now you're wasting the time on your attack buff and other things.
Yeah, it's like, so yeah,
like, it throws everything off if you're not well timed.
Yeah, so like you want Doki to be like the last person to go in your rotation to get full value out of the character, which is very difficult to do because you really also need her to be fast. So it's like you want to have it go, all my characters use their skill 3, then my Doki goes and resets them, right? Or alternatively,
or the exact opposite. You want her the fastest, so you can use her skill 3 to actually push up the whole team.
Yeah, exactly. So you want her to be, and in which case, like, she is pretty mid speed, if I recall. She's like 125, right? So
I think she's 121. I think she's like 101, and then has the 12.
Yeah. So that's what I say. It's very awkward because it's like you either need her to be first in the team or last in the team, kind of like how Crimson Armin used to be for years in E7, where it's like the character only gets full value if they are the fastest thing you have or the slowest thing you have. And very rarely, I think, do people get full value out of the character, because the character on paper obviously reads really stupid, but it's just that it's hard to take advantage of her all the time. And then on top of that, in some of these game modes where you only have like 4 characters, right? Depending on the team comp, she doesn't really get like a whole hell of a lot of
fit
value
anywhere, especially in those 4-player team comps.
Yeah.
It's just like
so she's basically like an extra copy of a character on your team. So like if your team only has like 1 damage dealer, like a Lian, and that Lian gets picked off, Doki contributes nothing to your team. All right, that's why I feel like the character is very powerful in the spots where she's good, but it's not like Tiamat alone with nothing else contributes a ton. Helkid with nothing else contributes a ton, right? Heinrich with nothing else contributes a ton. Doki needs something else to contribute, which is why I think she's going to end up here.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
And then next up, we have Massiah, the other light dark here. I don't really like this character's kit. I'll be honest with you. I actually don't really. I think this character is going to fall off the longer the game goes on. I think he'll probably be the first character to fall off. But there's something to be said about the fact that there are so few good damage dealers in the game at launch, at least in my opinion. And the fact that he's light dark means he's good like basically everywhere. So he's basically an AoE like DPS that has good single target nukes as well. That just works everywhere. And that's why I think I give him the nod. Because I'm very down on this character. But it's hard for me to be like, well, he's basically like a colorless Lian that you can use everywhere. Right? Whereas like Lian can't be used everywhere, Massiah can. And so that's kind of why he at least deserves to be on the same level as Lian.
I mean, the other thing about him is that he actually, like his S2 damage, as we know, like it hits very hard. It's based on the actual lost health scaling.
Yeah, it's an execute.
The enemy. Yeah. So that means in different things like your Union Boss, your Phantom Theater, and other things, he starts hitting for massive amounts. Like the highest that mine has dealt was 310,000.
I still remember we did the Phantom Theater. We were like tied for score, and then Massiah on your team just started to pull ahead, and by the end of it, you were like 40 or 50 life bars ahead of me because you had Massiah and I didn't. And I was like, holy. Yeah. So
as soon as you hit that point, he just starts scaling very hard.
Yeah.
Like, so I definitely think he is a very good character. In some cases, like I feel like he should get a little buff, like maybe like increase the vulnerability on his skill 1 to like a higher percentage of landing, and maybe make it a 2-turn so he could actually land it and hit it into himself.
Yeah,
that'd be a great thing. But
that's actually good.
As you said, like he does a lot in PvP. Like that's where he was made for, like his AoE cleave and everything. And then he has the ability to basically be his own like self survival unit due to his invincibility. So he's very good in that. It's just you have to be able to set up a team to enable him.
Yeah.
And I think that's where he starts actually falling off a lot more. All he does, his main purpose is damage, and that's all he does.
Yeah, and that's usually the first thing that gets power crept in a game like this, because there has to be a stronger, more efficient damage dealer down the line, because otherwise you're not going to pull for it. If a damage dealer comes out, it's not stronger than Massiah, you're not pulling for it. So that's why I always err on the control characters, the supports, the tanks. These are the things that have like long staying power. So for right now, I think Massiah gets the A, but I think 6 months from now, you probably won't be seeing him in A tier unless he gets some kind of change. All right, so the last one here, this is largely me. I know Drak felt this one should be a little bit lower, and that is Tsukiyo Mi. And that's just because I find it very hard to believe that a character that gives team-wide buffs, 100% turn meter, has an AoE silence that counts for Doki Doki, surprisingly, for a control effect for the damage reduction, and then reduces cooldowns, right, while also being relatively tanky, can be a bad character, right? I think that she's just going to be good at all points in the game, and I'm starting to notice from the clears that people are starting to use her for the higher end stuff as well, like your Hellforge or Infernos.
Yep. So I'm not like against using her. I think she is good, especially very much on paper. The attack buff is good. The silence plus cooldown reset on the skill 2 is good. The actual 100% CR push is good. She's a defensive damage scaler, so you can actually build her extremely tanky. Like everything about her is good. I just think that most of the time we have a lot better answers to most of those things. Like most of the time, I don't think we need that 100% push, especially with it being on the skill 3. I feel like it especially because she's gonna be using it immediately. She's not the fastest unit either.
Yeah, she's pretty slow. She's like low 120s, I think.
Yeah. So, in my cases of looking at her, it's like, well, in the cases where I wanted to use CR push, I could use Chiaki instead or Freya,
Mm-hmm.
especially if I wanted that attack buff, since Freya is basically directly competing with her.
Yep.
Uh, and then it's like, uh, do I want the defensive scaler or do I want to just take in the Freya and also get defense buff and all these other effects? I feel like she doesn't provide enough is
Yeah.
my problem. And that's kind of where I'm sitting on. Like, I think that she should probably move down to B, but that's me.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're taking both of our opinions in here. I can see the actual uses for her, so I'm fine with keeping her an A.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on now. That's going to be it for the SSRs here. Let's move on and talk about some of the SRs. So the first one, we already talked about her a bit, is Chiaki the Echo. Not much to say here. Guaranteed attack buff for the team. Good turn meter gain. Built-in cleanse on the basic attack skill. Just really solid support, especially very early on, that still holds value late game.
Yeah, I think the biggest strength comes from the fact that she, as you said, like the CR pusher plus attack buff, but the fact that she's actually an SR character, because a lot of you're going to also see, like at the start of the game here, there's a lot of difficulty with actually skilling up a lot of characters, especially your SSRs. And
Yeah.
because Chiaki's actually an SR, it allows you to actually grab like the free stats for speed from the
Yeah.
upgrades to actually make her one of the fastest units right at the start. So you're going to see her a lot at the start of the game.
Yeah, I think she's like one of the best free-to-play friendly characters in the entire game. Speaking of free-to-play friendly, Dinah. I don't really know which one you want to call her. I've been calling her Dinah, but then the Japanese VA says Dinah, so I'm like,
I've been calling her kind of Dinah, but I'm fine with swapping to Dinah.
Honestly, we could do that. We could kind of shortcut this a little bit. We'll save the time. Dinah, Grace, and then Mr. Lizard over here. I feel
the holy trinity of defense break.
Yeah, so the bulk of your experience playing Etheria Restart is going to be farming, and the best way to increase your damage while farming is to defense break whatever you're fighting, and there is one strong defense breaker that's AoE in every color, so you should probably build all three, right? Like, Dinah is good versus green, Grace is good versus blue, like Doki, and then my man over here on the end is good versus red. And they have synergies between them. I think Dinah is the best because if either one of these two sets up a death break, she could follow up for the vulnerability, because if they're already death broken, her skills turn into vulnerability for even more damage. But there's still not really a reason not to build any of these characters. Like, these are going to be staple characters at the start of the game, I feel like literally all of them.
Yep. The only thing I would say is, because we do have our premium defense breaker being Kloss, you can not build some of these defense breakers. I think that Dinah obviously outperforms the other two most of the time. It's just because we actually get the vulnerability on her skill for immediate damage.
Yeah, she also has good turn manipulation too.
Yeah, so I think Gray and RC fall a little bit behind, and can easily be replaced by Kloss in most of the content that you would take both of them into.
The next one, this one might be surprising some players, is Diting. The character just does a lot of single target damage, and he gets a lot of free stats early on. You can build a lot of one-shot compositions for him in PvE, so it's just hard to not put him in A, because one-shots are
just kills things.
Yeah, the one-shot teams are like the holy grail of these type of games. Like, being able to farm stuff 20, 30 seconds because you have a one-shot is like king. It's what lets you basically see more gear, see more modules to be able to roll to get the stats you need for the characters you want. Like, if you're seeing more modules than other players, statistically you're more likely to just have better modules overall. So having characters that let you do that, it just massively helps you out. It's super, super good. So our next one is the green Kazuyo here. This one is largely because of the fact that she has good control effects for Doki. You honestly need almost no investment to farm Doki with her. And then she also could have some pretty good control applications for like PvP.
Yeah, I've actually been throwing her up and more in my own liking. Like, I think she, like, comparing her to like Kraken and or the other actual debuffers, I think she might be the best option for, like, especially for early game free to play players for actually going into things like Doki.
Yeah,
she's actually like extremely gear inexpensive.
Yeah.
She can kind of just use anything, and she'll just work.
Yeah. I didn't believe it at first. A good friend of ours, Car6, said, yo, you should just play Kazuyo with no levels in it. Like level 1, just throw your good gear on her. Don't even invest in her. Don't prowess her, and you'll be able to clear Doki with her. And I was like, BS. And then I did it, and I was able to clear like Hell 2 with it. And I was like, with a 3-star? So yeah, it's kind of hard to say for a character that you need basically no investment. The fact that she can still perform at some of the harder stuff, is a testament to how good I think she actually is. So next one is Cachi the Guard, and this one is more of a relatively recent addition because of some of the stuff that he can do. So I'll let you field this one, Drak.
So just because of his speed and his ability to actually tank and put up buffs, he's one of our early game counters to the actual Marvells and the actual Krakens for PvP. A lot of people have taken to starting to use him for PvP a lot more now, and throwing him up on high speed, just put up the immunity for 2 turns and shut down a lot of these teams.
Yeah.
So he's become a very good counter, especially in the PvP game. But also because he is one of our only characters that actually give like these defensive buffs like immunity and extends buffs in the game. We have like only a few amount of characters that actually extend buffs.
Yeah.
He's very good in PvE as well, as being like your support unit that just keeps you from being debuffed.
Yeah, he has high base effect resistance. Like any character that can resist debuffs and then make your other teammates like immune to debuffs is a very valuable resource. So that's why he ends up here. Next one here after my guy Cachi, I think this is the last one we're gonna put here, is actually Rin. I think Rin is basically your tank of choice if you don't get Tiamat. Like if you don't pull Tiamat, and you just don't pull like, I mean, not that Tsukiyo Mi is like a tank, but like if you need a frontliner, like a bruiser, to like keep your team safe, Rin is pretty much it. 2 forms of control, AoE attack down, massive defense up plus barrier for your entire team. She's pretty much my free-to-play character of choice for Terramaton. So I just don't see why you wouldn't play her. Like again, if you don't pick up Tiamat but you run across Rin, character's just a good frontliner for you for pretty much most forms of content.
Yeah, she kind of just does it all for like an early tank, especially in the SR category. It makes her very, very, very strong.
Yeah, it's like a friend of mine said, it's like Overwatch. Like there's your divas that could be damaged, there's your roadhogs that could be damaged, but sometimes you just want a Reinhardt to hold the line. That's Rin. Rin is the Reinhardt. You hold the shield, you survive, you get the dub. It's not flashy, it's not fancy, but it's just solid. It's just good enough.
She does her job and she does it well.
All right, so that's going to move us into the B tier here, which is the niche characters, or, you know, the characters that don't get strong until late game. And I think the number 1 character for this is Beyontin. This is the first one we'll talk about here. So Beyontin is ridiculously powerful late game for most forms of content. Like, she probably scales, like, harder than most of the characters on this list. Like, I know from the early access server, when you have everything and you have super late game gear, character can just form the backbone of most of the one-shots in the game. But she doesn't do a lot until you get to that point. Like, she's really strong at, like, rank 50 plus. But until then...
But that's also, like, her only purpose, though, kind of. Like, setting up those one-shots.
Yeah. She just gives unparalleled, like, offensive power as well as a little bit of survivability. But you have to, like, hyper invest in her and have, like, actually invested in characters to make use out of her. So it's not to say that she's, like, bad. Like, I expect, like, 2-3 months into the game, once we're all settled in and we're making, like, a tier list that's not for, like, week 1 or month 1, Beyontin will be a top tier character. But she does very little for you until you get to, like, higher levels.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. Her damage reduction is really nice. She's one of our only other revivers.
Yeah.
She has the CR push. Like, she does just about everything besides healing.
Yeah.
And she does all of those things pretty well. The only thing that kind of strikes her the wrong way is if she ever gets hit by unbuffable.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, she's the one character where you read her on paper. If you're a veteran of the genre, you will read her and you will think she is the best character in the game, hands down. And then you will actually play her and find that she does basically nothing for you in the early game. That, like Chiaki will massively outperform her early. right? Gray, like any of these characters, Marvell, all the other SSRs will, or SRs, I should say, will outperform her, and you'll be like, wait, this doesn't feel like an SSR. And it's not until you have everything else that she will really pop off. All right, so our next one is Lilith, the bomb character. It's just a character that requires a lot of investment. Yeah, she's just good. Good damage, good bulk, good CC, right? But she just, yeah, she just requires a lot of investment. And early on, you're just not going to have gold lattice, right? And the ones you do get, you're going to put them to Lian first. And she just isn't super great until you have a couple of lattice into her. And those are super premium. And you'd rather put them in your Lilies or your Heinrichs or, like I said, your Lians, right? So that's why I have her here. Yeah. It's not that she's bad. It's just she's a high investment unit, and you're not going to get to see her pay dividends for a very long time, which is why I think I'm going to leave her here.
Yeah, she goes crazy in like late end game and everything. The actual CR manipulation, the speed down, her extra turns, the bombs for the stuns, makes things a lot more survivable, especially, you know, with the CR manipulation comps that are currently running around. So she's really good. I've been using her a lot as my pick over Marvell since I decided not to build him because he is in fact a cheat code. So she's kind of like the budget Marvell.
Yeah, even though she's the rarer character. Yeah. Yeah, you actually have yours all super invested in, and I do not have mine invested in, and it's night and day the performance between the two of them.
Yeah, she's at least a minimum 4 skill gems into the skill 3.
Yeah, you need 4 gold lattices to make her actually like good, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, my girl here, Rosa, like literally this might as well just be like the holy trinity of like doesn't get good till late game. I started with Rosa. This was my starter this time in the beta. She is terrible early because the thing is her base attack stat is garbage compared to many of the other damage dealers in the game. So she doesn't really get good until you have extremely like premium DPS gear and you have a comp built around her. She's not going to do anything for you. Like when you're like, oh, I have like a Lian and like a Dorothy and a Gray, right? She's not going to feel that good. She's going to start to feel good when you have your Marvell and like your Lilith and your fully skilled up Dinah, right? When you have like that comp, you're going to be like, oh yeah, now she feels good, right? When everybody's all decked out. But until you get to that point, she feels really lackluster. So
yeah, I haven't had much use of using her myself, but at least in the PvE scene up at the top level, the first clears on floor 30 for Ember Trek did actually have a Rosa on the team for the CR manipulation that she actually performed.
Yeah, she's again.
She is very good.
Yeah, it's just
you need to really invest into actually using her.
Yeah, she's exactly the same as Beyontin, in my opinion, where like once we get like 2 months into the game, I expect to see her top tier and everything. But until then, no, I think she belongs here, right? Like this is one of those characters where if you pull her early, just know you've got a top tier in your pocket like a month down the line, right? Don't reach for investing into her early. You'll end up like kind of hamstringing your progress. So our next SSR is Xiada, and I said this is like the holy trinity, but maybe it should be like a quadruple here. Ridiculous AoE damage, but you have to work for it. You need the investment, right?
Oh boy, do you need the investment?
Yeah.
This character, like, you have to fully invest in like the skill 3 for the actual damage, and then to actually, you know, maximize that, you then have to maximize her skill 2.
Yeah.
Like those are the 2 skills you have to actually, you know, put skills in because you don't need to put anything into skill 1. Because all she does is literally press skill 3 every single turn.
Yeah, and her attack like Rosa has like 975 base. Like Xiada has like 1,000. For comparison, like Lian and friends like Rilmocha, they're like 1,200 plus. So they are really low in terms of attack. The only way to get Xiada to have good attack is to invest heavily in that passive. So you have to dedicate, like just like with Lilith, you have to dedicate like 4 golden lattices plus to actually start to see returns on the character. But once you do, then the character becomes ridiculously strong.
Yeah, she gets free crit, she gets free crit damage, she has 3 times scaling attack buff up to 45%. Like, she does a lot of self buff, but she's very squishy. You really kind of have to protect her too.
Yeah, you have to have a whole comp around her. Yeah, it's the same story as all these other ones.
Highest multiplier technically altogether across all of her hits for damage across her skill 3 once it's ramped up and you have the proper investment, because it hits for like 900% total attack damage across all of her hits.
And once you have her stacked up, she's gonna feel like a some of these like top tier DPS over here. All right, so that's pretty much it for the SSRs here. So let's move on to the SRs here. And the first one is Victor. This is kind of like how with Diting, right? Character just gets ridiculously strong at like making one-shots and clearing content once you actually have investment in him. But until then, like, you gotta have the team comp, you gotta have the investment from what I'm seeing.
He has free damage reduction, he has damage increase on his lost health, he does damage. That's what
he does damage.
He survives and does damage.
Yeah. So if you could get him fully invested and build teams around him, he's gonna pay you some pretty big dividends. So this one is Rin the Unbowed. And this is a character where I looked at it, was like, okay, it's like an Assassin Sid where they do damage based on like their speed versus what they're fighting. And I was like, that could be like a decent counter pick in PvP. And I didn't think much of it until I started to see some of the shell fights actually require you to have slow to actually like get through them. Some fights you need slow. So that kind of bumped my opinion of the character up from just being a niche PvP pick. I don't know how you feel about her.
I actually built her up, and actually I have used her. And if it wasn't for her and RC77, who we mentioned earlier, I would not have actually cleared through the Ethernet rally on the blue stage.
Okay.
She is a very strong damage dealer, and the self speed buff and enemy speed down is really relevant. And she actually does like really good damage, especially across her skill 1, because 3 different hits of the attack. She scales extremely well with crit damage, like extremely. That final damage plus crit damage modification is really, really strong. She starts hitting for like 30k a piece across her hits. Like, it's insane. This character is very good. She's also possibly the best free-to-play option for clearing through Nico Nana. Through all the difficulties for that because of the damage reduction effect based on Nico Nana.
Yeah, she's
so.
Exactly. Yeah, I used Rosa, but if I didn't have Rosa for farming Nico Nana, which if you guys don't know, you're going to be farming Nico Nana a lot in the 30s. Like, that's like a prime farming spot for like at least like 5 or so ranks. So if you don't have Rosa, like, this is the character. Hence why, again, doesn't get strong until the late game, because like you're not going to really feel her until you like approach rank 40. Next one is Dorothy the Wisher. So this one is one where I just look at it on paper and it feels exactly like Beyontin. You read it and you're like, eyeballs jump out and you're just like, whoa, this character does everything. And then you try to play her early and you realize that she just doesn't do enough because she doesn't have, you don't have the crit chance to double her effects. You don't have the investment to get like 50% turn meter as opposed to the 30 that you're going to have uninvested, right? The characters you have on your team don't hit hard enough to take advantage of the life leech. So that's pretty much where I'm at with Dorothy. Like, on paper, I still think the character is really strong. It's just, you don't have the team, you don't have the gear, you don't have the investment early on to really make her shine.
Yeah. To me, she's like, she's kind of just pulled up as the, I used her very early on. She was like actually my healer because I didn't have like Sania or Lingluo or anything like that. And I didn't pull Freya at the time either. But she was decent. Like, the actual, damage increase that she actually does, the CR manipulation, the crit buff, the life leech, it is suitable enough to get you through, like, super early, like your first 10 levels. But past that, she starts falling off fairly quick in regards to that. Like, she can't really start sustaining with the life leech at that point. And at that point, I actually got lucky enough to actually pull Freya, and it was an immediate swap.
Yeah. So
there's just other characters that perform that role better.
Yeah, I think this is one of those ones where we keep an eye on her. Maybe she gets better. Maybe she continues to tumble down. But I was pretty high on her originally. This is one where I see a lot of potential for them going into the full release a couple months. This is Viper. So just the fact that we have like a character that can punish aggressive team comps with like his counters and stuff feels very good to me. And the fact that he has the AoE like strip and it can be on his counter is very, very good to me. I don't know how you feel about Viper.
He also has like the AoE damage reduction effect.
Yeah.
Or the crit damage reduction effect, I believe it is.
Yes, he does.
That's a 30% reduction just for having him on your team. and especially in like some PvE, like I haven't really used him too much, but that damage, I'm thinking like right now, a lot of us are currently stuck on floor 27 of Anti-Sync,
Yeah.
on Nightmare mode, which is the Heinrich floor.
Yeah.
The start of that floor is literally you getting slammed by AoE after AoE after AoE after AoE by units that are all like 320 speed plus.
Yeah.
So you're not actually outspeeding that. So I'm thinking like if I actually had the actual chance during this beta to actually build Viper up and then set up a team for that, I think he would have actually helped me easily clear through that floor just from the damage reduction alone.
Yeah, this is one of those characters. This is probably the first 4-star I build after I get all my farming teams done, because I see great potential for him for late game content and for PvP content as well. I think the character is just super solid. Next up is a character I'm pretty down on right now. It's Obol. Obol has been like a love-hate relationship with me. Like, I didn't like them in the first beta. Then I really liked them in my second time through. I thought they were really strong. And then this third time through, I chose to skip investing in Kraken to invest in Obol. And oh boy, was that a mistake. So the character on paper is still very good. The problem with Obol, right? So if you don't know, he has an AoE stun and he can poison. He has a buff strip and he turns their buffs into poison, and then his basic attack is like a poison / dot, right? And that's all very good for PvE content, right? It makes him good for things like Aurora. But the big problem with Obol is that Kraken, when you invest in Kraken, he gets skill cooldowns reduction, right? So the turn, like the amount of turns you have to wait for the stun goes down. Obol just has stun percentage increase, not turn down. So as a result, Obol's cooldowns feel really long, like the higher up you go. And he doesn't feel anywhere near as impactful as Kraken, who feels like he's spamming all the time.
He is actually spamming all the time.
Yeah. So that's my thoughts on Obol. I don't know if you have anything else to kind of contribute. Like, still a good character, but
I haven't really had a chance to use him during the beta because there's always just, in my opinion, been better options when it comes to clearing content.
yeah.
So he's never really been on like the top of my list because like in the most cases where I wanted some CC, etc., I'd use Lilith instead because I didn't pull Kraken. Nor did I decide to build like Marvell. Two easy options for that. And then also even Kazuyo, the Reverie, is also like a better CC with the sleep. He just falls off in the fact of like he's not consistent enough at what he needs to do if he wanted to fulfill those
if they gave him skill cooldown reduction on his moves, he would be very, very good. Like, it's a good kit, a good character, just outshined or just not as consistent. Next up is Fangus. This is another character I thought would be really, really good because, like, huge follow-up chance on all of your attacks for him to follow up and give dot. Right, AoE slow, good dots. Like the dot team with like him and Obol is good. It's just way more niche than I thought it would be. Like, I'm basically just using it for like Aurora, and that's it.
Yeah, that is literally the only place it is really being used.
Yeah. So he's just not as good as I thought he was. I thought he'd be pretty ubiquitous. Next one we have is Kazuyo. It's just, she's I'm pretty sure skill cooldown reduction, which
she has she has cooldown reduction on her skill 2, and she has skill cooldown push back, I believe on her skill 3, and an AoE speed buff.
Yeah, so
she's really just extremely budget Lily.
Yeah, she's like your free-to-play Lily, basically. I think if you have Lily, you're not playing her, but a character with those kind of abilities, like anything that reduces your skill cooldowns or like resets your opponent's skill cooldowns is never, like, it can't be weak in this game. So this is one of those ones where I think it's, you know, doesn't necessarily need buffs, which is why I don't want to put her in C, but there might be something here, especially if like Lily is taken or like banned, right? Like, this could be something that you might want to consider taking. And then the last two in this tier I could kind of lump together, at least for the SRs, and we'll talk about our one rare that goes in here. And it is our two healers here, Dorothy and Valerian. Like, anytime you have a healer that has some cleanses, it can't like ever really be bad, because like, yeah, there's gonna be better options, but if you don't have them, like, these are playable, I guess. Like, Dorothy feels so bad compared to Sania and Lingluo. Like, it's unreal. And I've never been like a super big fan of Valerian. I know she has her fans, but
Yeah, she has some uses as well into like Shadow Flame Hoyon, the actual shell farming. Because whenever you attack Hoyon herself, you actually get counterattacked. So the actual barrier at the start of turn and everything from the Hazy Dream effect is really impactful. So she has her uses, Valerian, anyway.
Yeah, she just doesn't feel like as like generically good as the other healers. Like I haven't gotten to Shadow Hoyan, so I can't comment on that. But like everything else, like I feel like every time I play her, I'm like she's fine, but she's never like my first choice, which is why I wanted to put her here. And then number 41 is the last person we have in here, and I think this is largely not the doesn't get strong until late game, but the niche early part of the game. Like in the first like 10 to 20. Yeah.
Budget Chiaki.
Yeah, like if you don't pull Chiaki the Echo like in your first like 10 or 20 ranks when you get started, like when the game finally releases, like this is the character that you want to play because she gives basically turn meter to your entire team. She gives you like healing and tempo, and she doesn't really cost anything like at all to invest in. So you could just kind of like slam a bunch of XP into her, a bunch of like prowess, like lattice her up because she uses blue lattices, which are like crazy common. Right, so she's like the only rare that's like actually worth it. She'll fall off eventually, but the character's kit is good. It's just character stats are bad, right? That's why you're not going to play her long term. All right, so let's move on to might need buffs here. We've already been going on for quite a bit here, but it is okay.
Yeah.
So let's go.
Our first man, Mr. Clorox.
Chloros here. I'll let you talk about him because I don't have too much experience with him, but I don't really see, reading his kit, I don't see the appeal.
Well, he does one thing, and he does that one thing very well. He says, one person, I'm going to kill you. And that is what he does. He, in fact, does that very well, but that is the only thing he does.
Yeah, so yeah, hence the incredibly
he has
niche
the
thing.
actual 25% damage increase and then damage taken reduction from that one enemy, whoever he lands his actual S2 on. And he has like basically infinite scaling S3 damage.
Yeah.
As you use the usages of it, it goes up by another 20%. Obviously increase even further if you actually scale him up. Like he's very good at like doing damage and taking something out. And he actually has the ability to extinct, which is very uncommon against every single other character in this game so far.
Yeah, so
he's our only extinction.
Yeah, so if he kills somebody, they can't be revived with his skill 3. So yeah, like it's fine, like I guess.
He has his uses in like the Union Battle and like Phantom Theater and stuff like that, where you can just keep hitting the same enemy over and over. Like as I said, he has really good at the one thing, killing the one dude.
And that's it.
Doing the damage to the one dude.
Yeah, because like you said, I read the kit and I was like, so is he kind of like a Dark Corvus from Epic 7? And like I saw you were using him really early on, and then like you dropped him basically, and I was like, oh, that doesn't bode well for him. Like if he's getting replaced, like oh man, that's kind of rough.
Yeah, I even pulled the dupes who had even extra stats in PvE, and I was just like, there's just better options.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to kill a lot more enemies AoE and everything, just clear through faster. It's just like I'm not trying to kill a gigantic like Titan over here. I'm just trying to kill some stinky little robot.
All right, so this next one is one that I've had in every version that I've played through, but I didn't get in this one. This is the first time I did not get the dark version of Sania. She's just like the centerpiece to the dot team with like Obol and Fangus, and like that's kind of it. She doesn't really do anything else, it feels like. I guess like in the hyper late game she might be good in PvE, but
yeah, I mean the only clears going for Aurora are basically using her.
Yeah. So that's kind of it. Like if you're playing versus Aurora, she's like a necessary farm, but like otherwise she doesn't do like anything. She's hence why I think she might need some buffs. She reminds me of Release Spectre Tenebria from Epic 7, where the character was just wholly dedicated to poison, to dot damage, and nothing else. And she ended up getting reworked because like it was just so linear that nobody was really using her outside of one thing, so she didn't feel like a very impactful like light dark SSR character. If you look at the other light dark SSRs we talked about so far, they're all very highly rated. This one is the only one that is not. Right, so it wouldn't surprise me if she got buffed or reworked at some point.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I think that she has a very powerful kit on paper. It's just her actual applications and usage in the game is so limited.
Yeah. So this next one is Mia here. This is one that I was very high on in my like SSRs to check out video because the character on paper reads incredibly good. Barriers, damage reduction, buff strips, turn meter pushback, buff extension, healing, cooldown reduction. Like, what does the character not do? And then you actually sit down and start using her and you realize she doesn't heal enough. Her turns are too long to, like, you know, her cooldowns are too long, right? The shield isn't big enough on the S1. Like, it just feels like overall, the character on paper is good, but the numbers, like, the math ain't mathing. Yeah, the math ain't mathing, right? What you read on paper is not what you're getting. You'll find that you just don't heal enough to save allies, right? The cooldowns, despite the fact that you can lower cooldowns, it doesn't feel like it's as impactful as just using a turn meter manipulation comp, right? It didn't work out for me at all. You, however, did find something interesting, I guess, and we'll use it with our next character, right? I don't know if you want to move on past Mia, but it's Veronica.
Yeah, I can kind of just lump the two together. Veronica is an interesting character because she actually is our only character that puts out immortality effectively. Her effect of Soul Ward, it stops all of your characters from going below 1 HP.
Yes.
So, and because that's not like a proc or anything like that, that would just like go away after getting hit. It's just something that stays there.
Yeah.
That means like Mia's effect, for an example, where we were just talking about her, like her ability to cleanse. Remove, like, not cleanse, but remove 1 turn of debuffs. Her ability to extend debuffs by 1 turn and heal and other things makes her a very suitable companion for characters like Veronica, because then you can actually extend that immortality to the team.
Yeah.
Now, I've been cooking up an actual Soul Ward PvE team, which requires you to use like Lingluo, Cachi the guard, who we mentioned earlier, both being an S character and an A character, but also Mia here, who happens to be a C character, because she's one of our only other characters that actually has that extend buff option.
Yeah. So you could essentially build an entire team where, like, Veronica gives Soul Ward to everybody, and then every other member of your team just keeps extending it, so you actually just can't die unless your opponent has a way to strip the buffs. Like, it's a pretty potent thing. But overall, like, Veronica was the character I started with on the previous, like, early access server. And I really felt how rough it was to play this character early on. Like, I would have originally put her in B because she's very weak early on. She gets very strong later. At least that's what I was playing her as for, like, 2 weeks or so. And then they decided to nerf her because their data from the January CBT suggested she was too strong in PvP, and now her S2 is way worse than it used to be, and her stats are terrible. I don't know if you guys have ever actually looked at her stats, but her stats are not good. Like, she is...
Yeah, I noticed that when trying to actually build her for this comp.
She is she is a pure tank character. She is noticeably less tanky than other tanks in the game. Like Tiamat has like 4,500 more base HP than her and similar defense. Like, Veronica is so much squishier than the other like tank style characters in the game. So
I don't even know where her stats went because she doesn't even have speed.
Yeah, she's not. Yeah, she's slow, right? She has effectiveness, right? Like, that's fine. You have effect hit accuracy. That's fine for a character that has a strip. But like, we just don't have stats elsewhere, right? Everything is just so low compared to her other characters. Her cooldowns are long-ish, especially considering how slow she is. Yes, I know if you build her on Strive with her passive, she does get a ton of turn meter if you make contact with her, but like, they could just kill everybody else around the Veronica, right? Like, the character just low impact basic attack skill, long cooldowns, not great stats, right? Like, they really need to change her stats or give her something. Like, if she had like a stun on her basic attack, I would feel a lot better about the character, right? Because they completely gutted the S2. The S2 is so much worse. Like, it used to do 20% of her max health to everybody, and the total damage that you dealt was the barrier your whole team got. Instead, they changed it to like 13% of her max health to everybody on the enemy team, and then 20-something% of her max health. So like, the barrier is way smaller, and the damage it dealt is like way less.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I do think that the Soul Ward effect is very strong from her, and I think that's the only thing that's keeping her alive at this point.
yeah, her S3 is great. Her S1 and her S2 are bad. Her stats are bad. All right, next up is Born. So this is a character, again, just like with me, I thought could be very good at the start. But everyone that I have talked to that has played Born, they were riding high for the first like 20 to 25 ranks of the game, and then he inexplicably just fell off.
He jumped right off of a cliff.
Yeah, he just disappeared. You don't see him use it in any teams for clearing. You don't see him basically like anywhere. I like literally don't know where this man went. I've asked everybody who played Born, they've all stopped using him. So my only conclusion I can make from the fact that everybody I've talked to that has Born is not using Born is that he probably just doesn't scale well. Because like at the start, insane. But once you develop other stuff, where is he?
I mean, he's our only character that has like the scaling on scaling for health and attack. And he actually is one of our only other characters that does also have a strip as well, like a 1 buff dispel. And he does do decent damage. It's just because of how he's built and because of the conversion ratios, and with that way you build him, he doesn't do enough. Either isn't tanky enough so he dies, or he's tanky enough but doesn't do enough damage.
Yeah.
I think honestly we're probably in more of a gear issue situation, especially in the beta.
Yeah.
Where he's just not able to actually shine correctly. But at least like early on, he's just not going to do anything for you, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, so this one might be another Beyontin, like Rosa Lilith situation where maybe this character climbs in value in the first like month or two. But it's like I said, from what I have available, right, from talking to other people, that's all I have to go off of. Like, nobody's using him anymore. Like, everyone's like, yeah, dude, I just don't get the performance out of him. So I don't have anywhere else to kind of interpret that. Next up is Rahu. This was my damage dealer that I was using, like my primary damage dealer on the Veronica account on the early access server. And he was just okay. Like, he's tanky. Like, the character reads good. Tanky, AoE attack.
He just doesn't die.
Yeah. He has a death break, which is cool, but, like, he doesn't really put out, like, crazy damage, and sometimes you just don't get follow-up attacks, and it's like, okay. He's just there. He's chilling. He's the last guy to die. He puts out, like, okay damage. I don't know.
The only thing I could say for, like, PvE is that 2 of the 3 current runs on floor 30 for Umber Trek do use Rahu.
Yeah.
He's just so tanky and able to survive that it makes him a very suitable damage dealer for endgame content, where you are basically in a slogfest against a giant enemy that's trying to kill you constantly.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of I know I'm using more Epic 7 terminology here, but he reminds me of like Fighter Maya, where it's just like the character is absurdly tanky, very slow, puts up like average damage, can kind of weather the storm through pretty much any amount of debuffs, right? Like he's just a rock solid character, but yeah, he's just a rock solid character, but like, dude, he takes forever to clear anything, and like anything except like the hardest content, I feel like you could have done it with somebody else. Like that's why I have him under incredibly niche, because it's like I'd almost always rather take somebody else than. All right, so the last SSR here in this category is the girl whose name I always forget that has the passive ceiling effects.
Selence.
Selence, yeah.
She's okay. She has the reflect damage on the shields. She puts that up basically every turn. She's very annoying to fight in PvE when she's like, 50 levels ahead of you, because then the barrier is so huge. But the only place I've ever seen her, because I've never seen her literally anywhere, nobody's using her, is literally just Shadow Flame Hoyon, because she has like the same effect as Valerian of putting up that barrier, but hers actually would do damage compared to everything.
Yep.
Like, you don't see her anywhere. I'm not seeing her in PvP. I'm not really seeing her anywhere else in PvE. Like, she has an AoE seal for a skill, but there's no good passives to remove. Yeah,
like, historically, like, this kind of character is very strong in these turn-based PvP games, but there's not really anything, like you said, to use it on right now at launch, and then her basic attack is, like, a bunch of RNG. So, this is one of those characters where, like, could very easily skyrocket, like as like oh, there's a bunch of broken
more characters are introduced
Yeah.
that have better passives. She'll probably get stronger.
Yeah, hence, again, incredibly niche. I need to remind you, like, characters in C are not necessarily bad. Like, some of them, like Veronica, I actually do think are bad right now. But, yeah, like, this is one of those ones where it's just like, all right, you just don't have a home right now. Like, it's not even a bad kit. We just don't have a home. All right, so now we move on to Chiaki. It's just another healer, but, like, I think this is the healer that I'm, like, least likely to want to play. I know a friend of mine is actually, like, pretty high on this character. So maybe I have
to consider her a little bit more, or at least I have it in my thoughts. Just because the Origami Guardian that she puts out is damage reduction, and because of the amount of damage that Teramaton Inferno actually puts out, I think if you were to try a sustain comp, she might be one of the better options just because of that damage reduction. But I'm still on the drawing board with that one.
Yeah. This is, I think, the most, like, I think this one's here because this is the most underexplored of all the healers right now. This one could actually secretly be, like, A tier, maybe, but, again, my one friend who usually tries to be very contrarian and go against the grain, this is his healer right now, and he's been singing the praises of it, but we'll see. For right now, you know, I'll eat my words if this character ends up being bad later on. You guys can let me know down in the comments how you feel about the character. All right, Yang.
ECR pushes.
He does
his job.
Yeah, he CR pushes. He sometimes does the single target deeps, but I don't see him doing it better than anyone else that we talked about here on the tier list.
Yeah, I mean, like, Gray does exactly what he does, but defense breaks.
Yep.
I mean, you don't get the CR push, which I guess is one thing, but the attack buff and stuff that he puts out on the skill too, it's not an extra turn. Gray's is.
Yeah. Yeah, some of these characters that we're going to talk about later. Yeah, some of these characters, like, they really could use extra turns in their kit. It would make them a lot better.
Yeah. So I do think if we gave him an extra turn, I think he becomes, like, immediately S tier.
Ah, okay.
Or not S tier, A tier.
Yeah.
Because he immediately fights with Gray in that position as a damage buffer, but actually as an opener as well, being the CR pusher.
Yeah, that would be actually pretty helpful. All right, so the last one here, and I was going to put this guy into garbage. Drak convinced me not to. Is Tsutomu here. He has wound. He has buff block.
He has two very rare skills, not usually on a lot of other characters, and our only other character that really does both of those at the same time happens to be an S, and that is Heinrich.
Yeah, Heinrich, yeah. I think that he's slow. Like, I really think the samurai
stats. He auto crits. The enemy has a debuff. There's plenty of debuffs in this game. Like,
yeah,
he has a decent overall kit, and niche enough skills to actually run him, especially in things like Dahlia. If you don't have someone like enough damage to actually like stop the actual enemies, like the ads and stuff like that spawn, that cause the healing, so you can just land the unhealable effect, the wound. On her, and then it just stops her from healing, and you can just focus on her. It helps in a lot of different random situations that you might not recognize immediately. So he does actually have some application, but really, overall, if you ended up pulling Heinrich, you're never going to use this man.
Yeah, I think he's just not good. He's very niche, not super great. Somebody, again, in the comments will let me know that they've been investing in Tsutomu a lot, and they've been doing good with him, but I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it. I have not seen it. All right, so that brings us to our last tier in garbage. And the first one is Turnadot, which great character design, good speed. S1 has like no skill 1, no real impact. It feels like, and why does skill 3 not give an extra turn? Like, holy.
Yeah, that'd be kind of helpful, you would think.
Yeah, like she's a buffer that's fast, and it's like, and then there's a bunch of like disruptive abilities, but like you have to choose. You can't be a buffer and a disruptor.
Yeah, she's kind of trying to fulfill every role, but not doing it well. Attack buff, defense break, CR pushback. She does have a strip, but it's only at 40%. Like it's not very active. So she's just trying to fulfill every role, and she's not doing all of them well. The only one she does do is the buffer role, which is the attack and defense. That's it.
And there's a bunch of other characters you could play that give you those buffs as well, like your Tsukiyo Mis and whatnot, right? Freya, right? Like This one's rough, man, because I saw this character, I was like, oh, this character is cool. Reminds me of like Tira from Soul Calibur, and then
You know, when I initially saw her, I thought she was gonna start inflicting burns or something.
yeah,
But we don't have any character that actually inflicts burn. We just have Dot.
yeah. And then our last SR character, and this one pains me. This is Oboro. I think this character looks really cool, and I looked at her kit and I was like, oh, she's Corinne from Epic 7, but not good. So defense break on skill 2, but no extra turn to follow up with the rest of the stuff. S3 is like it's a damage move with bleed, yeah, and it's a pushback, I guess. Yeah, if you crit, right? And then her S1 is like laughable. Like it's like 2 hits with like a 10 to 15% chance to bleed. Like bleed isn't even that good of a debuff.
No, it's a 10% chance to speed down.
Oh, speed down.
Passive.
Oh,
is
passive bleed.
On crit, she has the ability to bleed.
Okay. Yeah, but like it's like 10% to proc the slow. Like there's there's like 2 hits at 10%. Like what is that ratio?
It's upgradable to 15%.
Yeah, so
it's never coming up.
I just don't know when you play Oboro. Like I want to play this character. I think this character looks sick, but man, this character's kit feels like really bad. It feels like a bad version of kits that I've seen from like year 1 of gachas that get power crept immediately. Right?
Yeah.
I just don't know why you would play Oboro when you could pick any other damage dealer we talked about in the roster, right?
Like, if we're trying to look for a defense breaker, we have a better one through RC77, especially in the same element.
Same element. He's faster. He's got AoE. He's got CC on top of it.
And he has debuff extension, so it's a longer debuff as well. He has the attack down, defense down. He has the stun. Like, he has like everything. He even has the pushback.
Yeah,
and an even better chance.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just, and there are other characters like again at the same rarity that if you just wanted somebody that pushed back, Marvell pushes back more turn meter, and also like the whole enemy team. Like Marvell will end up pushing back like on just basic attacks alone more than Obol ever will. Like I just don't understand why this character is so bad. Right, I don't know. Again, you can let me know down in the comments how wrong I am here. So the last stuff to talk about here, I guess, well, not even really, is just the rest of the rares. I don't really think any of them are worth playing. I know you wanted to talk about Andrew.
Which one? I did want to bring up actually like Cachi, just normal Cachi here, because he's. If we're already going to say a character is already niche, like Dorothy the Wisher, for an example, here in B, Cachi is just Dorothy the Wisher, but even more like budget.
Yeah.
Which is very sad to say, because he does basically the same thing exactly, but it's like not as good. He has the attack buff, the CR push, the reduced cooldowns, just like Dorothy, except Dorothy has the crit damage buff. He's technically also budget Marvell because he also has the CR pushback effect and a stun.
He's actually got a good kit, but like the disparity in stats between rare and SSR is just
massive.
Yeah, so like if his stats were normalized, if he had SSR stats, he could very easily be hero here. Yeah.
But I don't think really any of the other characters really see anything. The only thing I really wanted to point out for Andrew is that the blue element Andrew is the red one, and the red element Andrew is the blue one.
Yeah, so yeah, the red element character, the character that you would use for Terramaton is the blue Andrew, and then the one you would use for like, what is it, Aurora, right?
Aurora.
Yeah, is the... Yeah, so it's just like they're the opposite. Like you expect blue Andrew is blue element. No, blue Andrew is red element. Red Andrew is blue element. Just to mess with you. Just to completely mess with you.
I think that blue Andrew actually has like kind of a decent kit to a point. I think it was.
Yo,
or was it the red one?
All right, so red. What you're saying is red lobbies featuring Andrew for Etheria restart somewhere down the line.
Yeah, the blue element Andrew, the red one.
Yeah.
Is the one that has a kind of decent skill set because you can kind of think of him as your like if you play Epic 7, your Karina. He actually has like the rocket punch effect on his skills.
Oh, okay. That actually is pretty interesting, yeah. I haven't really looked at him too much.
Increase at like half and below health.
Yeah.
So
all right.
He might, do something as like, your for fun unit. The blue Andrew, the one that is red. Do have to specify that each time. He might actually see some kind of use. But outside of that, I don't see.
We'll leave that to the chefs.
Yeah, we'll leave that to the other chefs out there.
Oh, okay. So that's pretty much it. I can't wait to look back on this in a couple of months and see how wrong we were. But we'll be like, oh my god, we were so stupid, dude. Rosa was the most broken character in the whole game. Why did we not have him in like triple S plus tier? So
I always knew Marvell was actually just a garbage unit.
Yeah. So again, it'll be fun to see. Again, you can let us know your thoughts down in the comment section below. I want to take the time to thank you, Drak, for being on. Make sure, by the way, I will link Drak's YouTube and Twitch down in the description. Make sure you give this man a follow. He is going to be a wealth of information for Etheria Restart when it launches on June 5th.
Yes. Do please check me out. Also, in the comments below, post your favorite character and your favorite builds with their different sets. I want to see how you guys cook.
Yeah, that actually is a good idea. Yeah, if you made it to the end now, like please let us know how you build characters, because like there's some characters that are pretty obvious. Like everyone's building like Swift Rush Bramble on Tiamat, but like I can't wait till we get like, if you guys have been playing for a bit, if you guys have started doing Inferno, I want to see what you guys are doing with those like 12, 8, 6 set breakdowns, right? That's where the game gets real interesting.
Those sets are all problems right now. Inferno is a pain. Inferno is a huge gap.
Yep. I know, trust me. I am aware it's gonna be a little bit challenging for me to try to come up with some free to play teams for some guides for threshold stuff before launch. Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, again, thank you so much, Drak. We are gonna take off here. As always, enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of the week, and we'll see you in the next one. Later now.
Peace out.